Okay, welcome back. Now we are going to be cutting our pattern. So I want you to get your paper scissors out. Have them ready. Okay. Now, I think most of you are going to be cutting a small. I am going to cut the medium. The process is going to be the same for medium or large or whatever, okay? Okay, so I just have to make sure that I'm in frame. Okay, so let's take a look. So we've got small, medium, and large. I am going to cut the medium, okay, for myself. So I'm going to start over here. Now, when you are cutting, and this is good practice, keep your pattern flat on your cutting surface, either the island at home or on the floor, on the cutting tables at school, wherever you will be cutting any patterns. Make sure you are cutting flat, okay? Start practicing this now. You do not want to be cutting in the air, okay? All right, so when you are cutting, you want to keep your pattern to the back of your hand. This is the back of your hand, not the palm. This is the back, okay? So you want to keep your work to the right of the back of your hand, okay? And I am cutting the medium, so I am cutting where I have my long dash marks. If you're cutting the small, you're cutting where you have the smaller dashed marks, okay? If you're cutting large, you're cutting the solid line. All right, so I am gonna start cutting. Now you wanna use nice, long snips, and everybody should be using their fabric scissors. I'm gonna cut this part off. Okay, now we're going to go around a curve. Okay, now it can get a little bit tricky. This is a nested pattern, meaning you have different sizes in your pattern. So I am going to be cutting it just straight across right there. Okay, remember where you are cutting, small, medium, large. Don't worry about any marks right now. And then we are all going to cut this straight solid line right here. Don't cut anything else, just the line. Okay. Now when I look at this part of the pattern right here, I end up with 3 different lines. You need to remember which one you are cutting. So if you are cutting the small, you are cutting the small, you're gonna come across here, I should clarify. Don't cut the triangle, leave it alone. And you are gonna follow the small dashed line. I am cutting the medium, so I'm gonna cut across right here along the solid, and then I'm going to follow the long dashed line. If you're cutting the large, you're just going to cut across and follow the solid line. Don't cut the triangle. And then your scrap, you're going to throw it in the recycle bin. Okay, next we're going to be cutting out piece number 20. Again, I am cutting the medium. Remember, yours is the dashed line. Now you're gonna see some circles here that say small, medium, and large. We'll deal with the circles later. For now, you are just worried about your cutting line, okay? All right, now this one's pretty easy because we are just going to cut straight along this line. Now the way that this is printed is you've got a line here and a line here. This line here means nothing, okay? So we're not even gonna worry about it. We're just going to cut our pattern. And we're all cutting the exact same line. Okay, now we're going to come to this point right here where it looks like a V. You are going to cut your size. Okay, so remember you're cutting your size. Small, medium, and large. So I'm cutting the medium. So I'm just gonna cut up ahead here. All right, V. And you want to come back down the other side. So we need this entire piece, okay? Don't cut half, just cut the entire shape. All right, next we are going to cut this strap. So I think this is the next strap. So again, you are going to cut whatever size you have picked. Okay, I'm cutting the medium. Okay, the last three pieces are all one size, okay? So they are all for all three sizes, okay? So we don't have to choose a size or anything like that. So we are just going to cut around on the solid line for all of our pieces. I think you can handle that. When I come back, we're gonna talk about our fabric layout. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to lay out our fabric. Now I'm just going to grab the instructions. When I look at my instructions, we are on page 2 of 6. Okay, let me zoom in a little. Now, when I look at my instructions, I need apron G. Okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, use pieces 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. That's what we have cut out. Now, if you notice, when they printed these instructions, the printing didn't come out very well. So it is a little bit hard for me to tell what to do for 45-inch fabric, which is probably what you have, okay? Because if it's quilting quilting cotton's coming 45 inches, okay? I have 60-inch fabric. So I am going to follow my instructions, kind of, okay? So the first thing that you are going to do is you're going to flip your fabric wrong side up. So this is the right side. This is the wrong side, okay? Then what you're going to do is, when I look at my fabric, I have something called a selvage edge. The selvage edge is going to run the length of your fabric, not the width, okay? So the length, longest side, okay? And this selvage edge, I always know is straight, okay? This will always be straight. So what we are going to do is we are going to fold our fabric in half. I'm going to show you what to do if your layout isn't printed clearly. You can lay out fabric any way you want, but there are some fundamental rules that we have to keep in mind, okay? So I am going to just fold up my fabric as best as I can here. And you are going to fold it selvage edge to selvage edge, okay? So for me, it's this white strip, okay? So you want to fold it, like I said, selvage edge to selvage edge, because then we know that the fabric is straight. Don't go by where your fabric has been cut by the person at the fabric store, because it will never be straight, okay? Never, ever, ever. Okay. So just make sure that your fabric is folded as perfectly as you can get it. Selvage edges all match up. Now, this is really important that it is folded properly, because your fabric has a grain line, okay? Especially if it is a woven fabric, you've got threads that are running lengthwise and crosswise, okay? Your lengthwise weave doesn't have any stretch, okay? It has very, very little stretch. That is your grain line, okay? It's important to maintain the grain line, because you won't be able to tell right after it's sewn. But if you cut a garment off grain and you go to wash it, the side seams will end up twisted. So think about if you've ever bought a really cheap shirt from someplace, okay, a cheap t-shirt, and you've worn it a few times and now you're gonna wash it. You take it out of the dryer. It may not happen right away, but it might happen after a couple of washes. You take that t-shirt out and the side seam that would normally be running down your side is suddenly twisted and it's kind of in the front. That means that that t-shirt or shirt or pants, even jeans, are the worst for this, okay? They have cut that pattern off grain, and that's when you get the twist, okay? So really important that you have everything matching up. So now, in the next part of the video, I'm gonna show you how to lay out your pattern. Okay, the idea behind getting your fabric laid out properly is to minimize waste as much as possible. We want to use up as much of the fabric as we possibly can. So what I want you to go and do is grab your pins, okay? And I want you to grab a tape measure, okay? And then come back to the cutting table and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, looking at piece number 18. Take a look at where it says apron G, cut 1 on fold, okay? This is really important. If you take a look, here it says center front on the fold. That means on the fold of your fabric, okay? So let me just kind of push my fabric out of the way a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So what happens when you are cutting on the fold is you're going to cut around your pattern piece, okay? And when you unpin and you fold or unfold your fabric, you're going to have 2 halves of your apron, okay? Now, really, really important. When you are lining up this piece, you need to line it up right on that fold, okay? Now, I caution you, don't line up the top of your pattern piece right here with the exact top of your fabric, because it happened to me when I was learning. My fabric was not cut straight, okay? And I pinned my fabric thinking, okay, I'm just gonna use this edge, I'll have less cutting. No, no, no. Because this was cut crooked, I lost, I don't know, I can't remember now, but probably about 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch off the top of my fabric. And I actually ended up having to go and buy more fabric because I didn't have enough of my fashion fabric to cut another piece of, I think it was a dress that I was making. So really important, place it down an inch, I would say, but you're feeling your fabric to see where the fabric ends meet, okay? And you want to line up your piece right on the fold, okay? I have seen students do this. Okay, this is incorrect. Now think about it. If you're wondering why is that incorrect, it is incorrect because remember, when you unfold this, you're going to have a whole piece. So this is measuring approximately an inch, just about an inch. So when I unfold this, I've just added 2 inches to my pattern piece, and that is not what we want, okay? So we need to line it up right on the fold. Now, right now, this is kind of like my rough draft. I'm just placing my pieces to see how I can maximize my fabric the most, okay? So I know that this is fairly long, so it's going to go here. And you're wondering why I'm doing it, let's say, this way and not this way, let's say, if I had enough fabric. It is because of this grain line, okay? This line right here tells me the direction that my pattern needs to lay in. So it needs to lay along the grain line, and the grain line is always going to be your lengthwise weave, okay? So same thing here. I'm going to get it close to the top, but not quite. And it tells me here that I'm going to need to cut 2. So I need 2 pieces. This is why I am not cutting this on the fold, because I need 2 separate pieces, okay? All right, the next thing, I think I'm going to lay out my pocket. And then I am going to lay out this piece right here. Now I need to cut 2. Now the width is just to my selvage edge. So chances are I may need to cut this whole thing out and then cut on the fold. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. For now, I'm just going to follow my grain line. Okay. Next, I have my other ruffle. So I'm going to place that just below, this way right here. And I have one more piece, and it's a long piece. Now I know that I don't have enough fabric there on the end, so I'm going to move this piece over. And I'm going to try and place this like just. So I'm going to have to be really, really careful when I am cutting that. I think I'm going to put this pocket piece right here. Okay, now I've got my lower ruffle and my upper ruffle. I think I'm going to make this in a contrasting color. So I might run out to the store and buy another color for this piece. So for now, I'm not going to worry about this one because I'm going to use a different color. So I don't know, I'm thinking gray to contrast. I don't want pink because that'll be a lot of pink, okay? but maybe I'll go with the gray. So I might go to the store tomorrow and buy a little bit of fabric for my lower ruffle just to make it interesting. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. However, we can still do some cutting and pinning. All right, so I'm gonna move this piece back up. And to make my life easier, I'm gonna cut my fabric because I have it hanging off the end of my chair. So now you're going to grab your fabric scissors, okay? And your pins, make sure that you have your tape measure as well. Okay, I am happy with the layout of my fabric. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pinning. Very, very important. You need to pin on a flat surface. When you're pinning, and this is tricky and it will take practice. By the time you've pinned all your pieces, you will be practiced, okay? Very important, never lift and pin like this because I can already see that I have a gap, which means my pattern has shifted, I will be off grain, and it's not going to be straight. So when you are pinning, you need to pin on a flat surface, on a cutting table, on the floor. Don't pin on the floor of your bedroom if it's carpeted, because carpeting is squishy. Hold on, my family is talking. Okay, so when you are pinning, you need to pin on a flat surface. Do not lift your fabric. So just hold your fabric down. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try and be out of the way. And you're going to just poke your fabric. You want to make sure that your pins get right to the surface that you are pinning on. Now notice I didn't lift my pattern or my fabric. I kind of manipulated it a little bit, and I'm going to pin in the middle. Remember, you are pinning right on the fold. Okay, so I've zoomed in. Hopefully you can see it a little bit better. Right, there should be good. Okay, so you want to get your pin right through the fabric to the surface that you are pinning on, and then I'm just lifting my fabric slightly just to bring the needle through. Okay, now pin, use as many pins as you need to get your fabric nice and steady. Okay, so I'm gonna pin right here. And I'm going to pin on this end. You may need more pins, you may need less pins, okay? Do what works for you. Okay. And then I'm going to pin in the middle. And I'm just constantly pushing my fabric down. Okay, so the main part of the apron, the part that is on the fold, is pinned. Now, the tricky part comes with these pieces that aren't on the fold, because we have to make sure that we are on grain, okay? So I'm gonna start with piece number 19. Now, it's gonna look straight. It is gonna look 100% straight. I can guarantee it, it is not going to be straight. All right, so here's what we need to do. You are gonna take your tape measure. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna measure to your selvage edge. And I like to start from the middle actually. And I'm gonna start from my grain line. So the grain line is this arrow right here. It even says grain line, okay? So I kind of start in the middle from my grain line. I'm going to put the end of my tape measure, and I am going to measure to my edge just before where my fringes start. Okay, so that's about 11 and a half. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over just a little. And it's at 11 inches. I like that better. I like to use whole numbers or halves if I can. Okay, so what I'm going to do, always measure twice just to be sure. I'm going to pop a pin just to keep my pattern as steady as possible. Okay. We've also got a center line right here, so we can use that as well. And this part here is 11 inches, so this is going to be 10 and a half. So from the center line, right here, I want to measure 10 and a half. And it's like perfect. Okay. I don't trust my eyes though, so I always double check. And it becomes even more interesting when you're sewing something that has a curve. So I'm just going to pop a pin in here. And then on this side. I've pinned the middle, so now I'm going to check. Wow, I'm good. But I don't trust myself, so I always double check. Okay, now we have to do that with all of your other pieces. So, I am going to move this piece. Measure again from my grain line. And it is 7 inches. Okay. Sure that's still 7 inches? It is. Okay. So now that I know that that is centered, I am now going to measure from this center line, and it is 5 inches. So now I'm going to pin my ends. So this one's a little bit off here. Okay, 5 inches, okay? So I had to move it over just a smidge. Pop a pin here. The preparation to sew is, I would say, one of the longest processes. Because much easier time sewing in the end, okay? And which is what we want. We want to make this as easy as possible. All right. I'm just going to double check that I'm at 5 inches. And so I think you get the gist. You are going to do the same thing for all of the remaining pieces. And use the contrast fabric if you want, or the same fabric that you have for this lower ruffle, okay? All right, so get it all pinned, and when I come back, or in the next video, I'm gonna show you how to cut your fabric and how to do the markings, okay, for your fabric pieces. One thing, I am silly. I just realized this when I was pinning. Good thing that I'm double checking as I go. What does it say right here? Pocket, cut 1. So I am gonna pin this one after I have cut everything out. I am going to be very careful cutting here so that I can lay out this piece of fabric flat, and I can cut one of my pocket. I'm always forgetful with pockets because you only need one. So that was silly of me. So I'm going to take this one out, and I'm going to finish pinning. Good thing that I read what I needed to do. This one says cut 2, so I am okay. I'm gonna just double check all the other ones. Cut 2, cut 2. Okay.